What I want to do in this lesson is tell you some fundamentals about working with clay. One of the most important things you need to understand is that clay works with water. It needs water to be malleable, to be plastic, and that forms the basis of a lot of what we do with it. When you get your clay, the first thing you want to do is knead it really well like this, perhaps in small amounts. You can see it's a little bit dirty, a little bit tacky, but clay needs to be kneaded. It needs this working to make it, the water and the silicon in it really work together. So knead the clay before you use it, get it nice and flexed up, and you'll see that clay won't come off on your hands. It's quite clean, and that changes the consistency of the clay from what it was in the bag to a much more useful type of clay. So when you've kneaded a bit, you can make a few balls like this and just wrap it up in polythene and keep that ready to go. This is a bit of clay that's very usable. You can see my fingers are clean. It's nice and pliable and holds an edge. This is some clay which is too dry, and you can see that it tends to crumble and crack like this. So this clay is now too dry to work, but if we add a bit of water to that, we can get that and knead that back into a more pliable state. Here's another bit of clay, and this clay is actually too wet, and you can see it's too wet because you can see the way it's sticking. It's very sticky, and it's producing a big mess on my fingers. So this clay you'd leave to dry a bit so the water evaporates, and you can get back to using that. One really important thing to understand about clay is that it has a mass, so that if you, and it's very tempting to just push part of your model in because it's too proud, what will happen is that you'll push out that mass somewhere else. So it's not a good idea to be pushing your clay around too much, especially later on. Certainly to begin with, you can move things into position, but later on you don't just want to be pushing things. You want to be adding clay, take little bits of clay and add them, like so, build up, or if there's too much, take away your tool and take this tool and take a bit off. So you're adding and taking away. What you don't want to be doing is just pushing it around, because what you push in here will come out somewhere else. This is a clay model that I've actually finished with, so this is not one I'm going to do anything further with. But when I was working this clay model, I had it continually dampened, so I would be spraying it like this. And in fact, a good way to reconstitute any clay is to dampen it. I had it damp, and between sessions, to stop it drying out, I covered it in a plastic bag like this. If I wanted to reconstitute it, or it was bigger and I wanted to add more liquid, what I could do is actually cover the model in a wet cloth and then cover it with the plastic, and the moisture from the cloth goes into the clay, soaks in, and it becomes more plastic again. So that's the way to work. Keep the thing damp, use your spray, and in between make sure that it's well covered so it doesn't dry out. You'll have noticed that there's a wire structure at the back of this little model. This is because another property of clay, which is really important to understand, is that it has no strength. So clay itself on its own is very fragile. It has no means of supporting itself. So when you want to do a figure like this, you need to build some sort of little skeleton inside, something rigid, which is called an armature, and support it. And that's what we're going to deal with in the next lesson.